So we stripped all the tomatoes from the garden and we laid them out here on cardboard. We're letting them ripen here. You can see some of them occasionally will go bad, but because they're separated and they're on cardboard, it doesn't affect many.
Oh!
What?
I just every once in a while you'll come across that random one that's
bad.
Yeah, this is stuff
we'll cut that off.
Now these are the Goff Romas and they are going to be way more meaty. So we're going to mix them in with our Kellogg or Dr. White cheese. The yellow ones. So I'm over at my sink now. I've got all of our tomatoes lined up over here on the counter. And I've got this yucky bowl, which I call it. If there's a part of the tomato that doesn't look the greatest, I cut that part off and I put it in the bowl. I will actually go along and save some seeds. If you haven't seen the video that I made about saving seeds easily, I'll leave a link to that one. But if there's a part that I'm not gonna use, I can always save the seeds from it. So I'm just getting all these tomatoes washed up. Oh, it's such a massive bowl. You know, it was a hard tomato year. We didn't get a great harvest. These are mainly from stripping the plant after the frost, and then we just let them ripen down in our basement. So, some of them have bug bites. For us, it just wasn't a great tomato year, which is okay because we had other things that did really well, like our onions and our cabbages. All of our broccoli did amazing this year. So I'm just grateful to get to bottle any tomatoes at all. Last bowl. One thing I noticed about the Dr. White cheese is they're much more uniformed than the Kellogg's. They look very similar though. They taste really similar as well. Next, we're getting a big pot of water. This huge canning pot is about up to this bump in the pot, I guess. And we're getting this up to a rolling boil. And then we're gonna dunk our tomatoes that are all nice and washed and clean right into that hot boiling water. You know, there's so many different methods out there to make tomato juice and salsa, but this is just what we found that worked well for us. My mother-in-law taught me to do it this way. We have tweaked it a little for us because we have some meatier tomatoes. We're gonna turn some of these into salsa and some of these into juice. But the first thing is when this is boiling, we're gonna throw our tomatoes right in that pot and we're gonna wait for the skins to start to burst open. Yay, so the canner is finally boiling. Now I just go in gently. You gotta be super careful because they will splash. This is what it looks like when the skin splits. You can see that right there. Once I have one that's done that, I just go in and I pull them all out and put them right back into my bowl. My mom bought me this awesome scoop. It works perfectly for this. Before I was using this little like slotted spoon and I could only get like one tomato out at a time. But look at that, that's awesome. What a time saver. All right, I'm gonna set this bowl just to the side and I'm gonna go in with some more. This bowl is huge, so I'm probably only gonna get half of this one in. Ah! Careful not to splatter. last batch in. Right there, it's split again. All of the tomatoes have been scalded in hot water. Now I'm just gonna let them cool so I can handle them. They're just too hot to handle right now before I slip the skins. Okay, my tomatoes have cooled down now. It's actually quite a bit later. I had to get kids in baths and bed. One of them is still not going down for bed, but we're gonna make this work. Over here I have this contraption. It's like a funnel into a stand, and then I have it into this huge bowl. It comes with this little musher. So this thing is gonna help us with the juice aspect. And then I have an extra pot sitting here. And I have my scrap bowl, which this is gonna go for the skins. So again, this might not be the absolute right way to do this, but this is the way that we've been doing it, and it works for us, and we really like it. So I'm just taking my tomato, I'm going around the stem end, pulling that out, and pulling off the skin, just pulls right off. I'm throwing that skin into my chicken bowl. I want to make sure if there's any juice or anything that I'm getting that off. And I'm doing this right over my strainer, the juice making strainer. And what I do is I just kind of give it a squeeze right over my strainer. And then I take the meat of the tomato and I throw this into my pot. If there's any part of that end that doesn't come off, I just take my knife and pull that part off. And then just give it a squeeze. You can see all that juice is falling. But I want to do it over the strainer so it catches any seeds. Then I throw the meat part into my big stock pot. And right down in here, you can see that's where the juice is going. And this will fill up with seeds, and I'll give it a, I think I just got it in my hair. This will fill up with seeds, and I'll give it a little mush, and the juice will come down into this bowl. So that's what I'm gonna do with all these tomatoes. The Goff Roma tomatoes and these ones. The thing with this type of juice is it's a lot thinner than if you were to take this whole tomato, put it in here, and just mush it. But my husband doesn't mind it. He says it tastes just fine for what he uses it for. So that works for us. And then I also get the benefit of making some salsa. Jesse's being so sweet and helping me double team it. It's getting late at night.
It's a big job for just one person. It's a big job for two people.
I wonder how many tomatoes that was. Like, we didn't even weigh them.
It really added up quickly.
Yeah.
They were just all over the place down there.
Yeah, like almost 4 bowls full. And one of those bowls is huge. It's this one that we put the juice into.
Yeah, it's surprising how much juice we're getting out of the Romas.
I wanted to double strain it because I felt like I had missed some seeds and some seeds had gotten through, so. But this is a lot of juice. I don't know how many quarts this pot is, but it is a lot of juice. This huge pot is full of all those tomatoes that we had squeezed out the juice. So here's the juice, here's the body of the tomato. Okay, it's time to get real. It's 11:30 at night right now. So I'm gonna put these into the fridge. I know that's not like the perfect way of doing this, but I have done it in the past and it does work. So I'm gonna pop both of these pots, because we have an extra fridge, into the fridge overnight, and then I'm gonna deal with them in the morning, and I will show you guys that. So have a good night. I'll see you in about 3 seconds for you. A night's sleep for me. Hey guys, it's the next day and we are getting to it right now. So over here I have a pot going with some boiling water. You can see it, all the steam. And in there I have 7 jars, 7 quart jars, and we're doing that to sanitize them. You could also use the dishwasher. Our dishwasher is actually broken and we haven't gotten it fixed yet. So I'm just sticking with the boiling method, but you could research. There's a lot of different methods out there to use. It's actually just coming up to a boil. Once it gets really rolling, I'm gonna boil these for 10 minutes to get them nice and clean. I left everything kind of chunky because you'll see the next step that we're going to do with this. I'm going to add this to my tomatoes that we skinned yesterday. I'm probably going to drop everything everywhere because I tried to fit too much on a cutting board. Yeah, I made it without dropping anything. All right, so right here is my pot that has all like the meaty part. So I'm just gonna dump all this right into my pot. I'm gonna get this heated up, actually boiling, letting these vegetables cook down a little bit. Hopefully everything fits in here. This is my biggest pot. I feel like this is gonna
You need help.
fail. That's okay. We're still gonna give it a try. Learn from my mistakes. If this fails, then you'll know not to do this.
It'll cook down.
I don't know. The bottom tomatoes might burn before this part cooks down.
Yeah, I would have thought
Well-
what you said originally.
What would I should have done?
Just added them as it cooks down.
Yeah?
I think so. Otherwise, you're just gonna spill everything everywhere trying to get those tomatoes.
Reverse, reverse.
It's not washed.
Yeah, if you didn't have to mix it or scrape it or stir it, then it'd be fine.
Yeah, okay, I think that might work though. Like I can still kind of lift the bottom. Okay, we'll give that a try. Okay. Gonna get this on the stove then.
Oh.
I also have the tomato juice that we did from last night heating up because I want to get this to a nice hot rolling boil before I add it into my boiling hot sterilized jars. We'll get that processing first while this picante salsa is cooking down. Sorry, the fan is going on because it's so hot, but Jesse was right. It started to cook down. So I think I can squeeze in the rest of my onions now. Now this one looks a little bit full, but it's a lot of foam. And now Jesse's being sweet and he's coming through and we're adding 1 teaspoon of salt to each jar. And then he's gonna add 1 tablespoon of just some white vinegar. You can add like some citric acid or something like that. You want it to be pretty acidic. All right, and we're looking for about a 1/2 inch of head space per jar. That one might be a little bit too high. All right, now I'm gonna go through and wipe off each one of these. This is important because you need a good seal. See, look at all that. I tried to be careful, but some spilled out. All right, now I've got my regular mouth lids going on those jars. And I'm gonna use TATTLER lids for our wide mouth jars. TATTLER lid looks like this. It's got this ring. Then I'm gonna go along and just put on my rings. Whew, they are hot though. I don't crank them down. I do try to get them on tightly, but I don't like crank them like crazy. Okay, now my water is still very hot. You can see the steam coming off. And my jars are super hot as well. You don't want to put cold jars or cold liquid into your canner, like with hot water. If you have a severe temperature difference, your bottles can crack. I'm actually gonna dip it down so I can see the level of my water. And I'm already over the top of my jars, so I'm gonna have to pull out some of this water. All right, last jar. All right, now I'm gonna get this back up to a rolling boil. All right, we're finally up to a rapid boil. And now for my altitude, that can vary for you guys. I have to do mine for at least 40 minutes. While the juice is going in the big pot, I am going to work on my picante or my salsa. I just had a little bit of juice left, so I'm gonna add that to my sauce. And we are gonna use an immersion blender. And from my experience, it will splatter with my pot so big. So I'm just gonna pull some of this out and put it in my other pot that I had the juice heating up in. And we're going to do an immersion and blender in this pot in batches. So I'll put some in, I'll zhuzh it with that immersion blender and keep adding to it. All right, now I'm gonna add more to this and we're gonna blend it again. All right, I have both pots blended now. I'm gonna combine them and then I'm going to get it nice and hot on the stove. I also have not added salt to this, so I am going to add quite a bit of salt and taste it. Salty, not like overly salty. I'm gonna grab a tortilla chip and we're gonna taste this and make sure that we like the flavor. If it needs anything before we bottle it. All right, I enlisted my helper. We're going to taste test the salsa.
Always glad to help with this part.
Or the picante. Does it need more salt?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. What did you do?
It's spilled. That's much better. Oh, you think it's too salty?
I think it's too salty now.
That's good.
All right, we're gonna get some more bottles sanitized before they eat it all, and get this bottled up as well. Okay, my timer's going off. Next thing you do is you turn off your heat. You take off the lid, and then you do a timer for 5 minutes, and you just let it sit for 5 minutes.
As you're setting them out, or getting them out of the water, you want to give them a decent amount of space between them. It helps them cool down a lot more quickly. And as they cool down, the pressure inside the bottle changes. Should suck that lid right down and complete the seal. You notice right here, like on this lid, you see that little bubble? When it's, hopefully, when it sucks down, the pressure changes, that seals down, that bubble will disappear and it'll just be flat. And we always like to hear pop. It lets us know for sure that that's gotten a good seal on it. After we take them out of the water, we get a hot pad or a glove and you just tighten the rings a little bit more. Not crazy tight, you know, but reasonably tight, because the rings can tend to loosen up sometimes when they're in the hot water. So you just want to make sure each one of them is on tight, because you don't want the air seeping in through a loose fit. because then you won't get a good seal.
Jesse is being so nice to help me. He got, oh yay, 1 pot. Did you guys hear it? Oh, that's such a blessing. After the jars have been cleaned in hot soapy water, he got them into this really hot water, and he's got the burner going because I had to get little ones in a bath. So he was so nice to help me with that.
It's a lot to do with little ones.
It is a little challenging. Oh, don't touch, those are hot. And then he's also been watching this salsa and getting it up to like a boil because we want it really hot since our jars are going to be really hot. Okay, Jesse just pulled out the rest of these jars, and we've got our salsa here that's still piping hot. We're gonna just fill up our jars. All right, I'm gonna fill these up until about a ½ inch of headspace. I wonder if we're gonna have more than 7 jars. All right, I got 7 jars. Actually more than 7 jars. I still have quite a bit in here, but I'm gonna get these 7 jars just into my canner. But I wanna wipe off the ring around the top so I can get a good seal. Now I am using some TATTLER Easy Seal for my wide mouth jars. I've got 2 of those. The important thing is to make sure your ring, or your rubber ring, fits right over that and not dips down or anything. And then I've just got some regular mouth lids right here, and I'm just gonna tighten these back down. Well, this is gonna be too full again, so I need to pull out some water. All right, I got all of those 7 jars into my pot. Once those jars come up to a rolling boil again, we're gonna do 45 minutes. That is for my altitude. You're gonna have to check what altitude you are because that can vary it. So 45 minutes, and then we'll do the 5 minutes with the lid off again, take them out and let them cool completely. And I will let you know if they seal or not. They should seal, I hope. All right, I just pulled the last jars out of the cooker. At the end of all this cooking, I got 7 jars of tomato juice, which are back over here. I have 7 jars of picante, the salsa that I did in my first batch, and then I just pulled 4 jars of picante out. So a total of 18 jars. I'm so excited. You know, it takes a lot of time and quite a bit of work. You could do it faster without little kids, but it's so worth it. So I'm just gonna leave these here on the counter overnight, and we'll check them in the morning, and I'll show you if they all sealed or not. So see you then. Well, it's the next day. Oh, darn it, oh, it didn't seal. Sometimes the TATTLER lids don't work well. That's kind of funny. The very first one that I tried was the one that didn't seal. All the other ones look good though. I like to store them without the ring in case there is a bad seal. It'll pop the lid up. That is one benefit to the metal lids, is because it's very easy to see when one doesn't seal, because that middle will just pop up. But I like the sustainability of the TATTLER. That's okay, I will pop this one into the fridge, and my husband will have that gone in no time. Dang it. All right, 2. That sucks. Sometimes the TATTLER lids, let me tell you. I don't know why. That is why we check them though. That way this food doesn't go to waste. We will use it. Well, that is frustrating that 2 of them didn't seal, but they won't go to waste. And I know I have 16 jars of stuff. And you saw that they were both the Tattler lids. It's a love-hate relationship with these Tattler lids. Let me know down in the comments below, do you guys ever use Tattler lids? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Do you have any good tips? I have both the regular Tattler and the Easy Seal Tattler. So I have both. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Actually, over a few days time of bottling these tomatoes. I honestly didn't think we were gonna have any tomatoes to bottle, but stripping the plants and letting them ripen on their own, I had enough to bottle, and I am so grateful to have these in our pantry. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye now.